This is the Planbook training for those who are new to Planbook or just really kind of need a total refresher on how to do everything. So for our Alito ISD login, hopefully you've got that figured out and you've gone to planbook.com and you've done your login and then signed on in. So when you sign in, if you have had a lessons from a previous year, one of the first things that might happen is it asks you if you want to forward your lessons from the previous year. And if you're teaching the same class, then I certainly encourage you to do that. I've also had the plan book prompt me for the dates of the school year, such as Labor Day and different holidays and Thanksgiving and Christmas, all those breaks. You are welcome to spend the time to put that calendar in, but I typically don't. I kind of just usually stick those in as I'm going along. So that might save you some time right now if you just plan on doing some of those days as you get along. Otherwise, you can go ahead and do it up front. All right. So I want to give you this familiarity with your plan book so that you can better communicate with staff, students, and parents on a daily um, basis. Because ultimately, our goal is to have a web page, a school web page, a teacher web page that has got the welcome page and has your lesson plan link for your courses. Now, I have some extra things here, but ultimately, we would like for the students or the parents to be able to go to your web page and click a link that takes them to a student view of the plan book. And so, ultimately, what happens is then you're able to hold the students responsible for taking a look at what's happening. You can, inform parents and all that kind of stuff. So I personally use this plan book reference instead of my Google Classroom because Google Classroom does not have the feature of allowing you to go and forward your lessons from the previous year. You're kind of starting all over. And we have to do our plan book anyway. So I don't want to find myself doing double the work and putting my information in Planbook and Google Classroom. I have homework links, I have the homework papers, attachments, and such. So this will do everything for you if you allow it. All right, so a couple things. So let me get off. This is my student view. All right, so this is back to me being logged in because I have the ability to do more features as a logged in person, not just in student view. So first thing, if you are adding or deleting a class, let me show you how to do that. You can add a class from two different ways. You can use this tab here that says add. You can add a class. And just to play around with it, I'm going to do that here. I have the wrong start date, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put that the first day of school is the 20th instead of that. So I'm just going to do a for instance. Let's say that you are teaching sixth grade math. So you could then title it sixth math. And then anytime you press that check and the check sign, that's the save and apply. Now, another way that you can add a class is to come over here to this Go To tab on the right-hand side. This Go To tab actually has a lot more features and I prefer to use it. So if you go to Classes, then it pulls up this where you can add a class. And so you can click on Sixth Math and add, do whatever you need to with that if you need to change anything. But also, I want to point out these little three dots. If you are on this screen, suppose I don't actually want to have sixth math, or I'll tell you at the end of this presentation, I'll be deleting this class. So if you have a class that you are no longer teaching and you want to delete that from your plan book so that you don't have that messing with all of your information, so you can go to these three dots here, and that's more options. And that's gives you the ability to format or export, manage your lessons. So I'm going to delete that class and show you then that would delete it back to where all I see is my AP statistics and my regular statistics. Now, if you go to, then the way you view your plans is by over here on the plans, and that brings you back to this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead just for purposes of walking you through everything. Let me go ahead and add that sixth grade class back. So I'm going to add a class. We're going to add sixth math because I want to use this. And again, here's this check mark up in the right-hand corner that says save and apply. So I'm going to teach you how to do everything with all the tabs that you need and all of the things that you must display on your lesson plans and so on and so forth. And I'll do that with sixth math. All right. So let's talk through, as you can see from my information, this my AP statistics lesson plans, I've got all these little different sections. I have one that's called lesson. I have one that's called the I will statement. And I added this year so that we can. And then I have notes and homework and critical thinking and writing. Then I also have attachments, but I do, on the first day of school, there wasn't any standards, but you can see I have my we will statement, which is my standards from my AP Statistics College Board. All right, so I want to teach you how you can do this kind of format and what things you really need and what things you don't really need. You will find all of how to look at all of these different screens with Go To in the right-hand corner, Display Settings. So if I go to Display Settings, then you've got lots of options. There are several screens that you can do text, just text boxes, okay? I'm actually going to take off this lesson one because that is not required. Just regular old lesson. I use that as my layman's terms for what we are doing. And the reason that I do that is because my we will statement, my standards, tend to be fairly lengthy. And I think it kind of messes with getting to the notes and the homework that I want my students to get to if they need to reference that. I typically have my we will statement at the bottom. But over here on the left-hand side where these arrows are, you can click one of those and move that wherever you want. So maybe I want we will statement and I don't want my lesson to be in there at all, my thing that I had previously done. So what you can see is my top box is we will statement, and that needs to be in this box that is notated on the side, standards. So you should have an option. There's some ones that says my list, school list, strategies. I don't use those items, but you will want to use the one that says standards because that is pre-populated with the different standards across the country. In fact, my AP Statistics ones added new ones this summer. So I can go in there and find the AP Statistics 2019. So if yours are not in there or if yours are not correct, you can talk to me and we can communicate with the Planbook company and they can get those standards corrected for you so they are pre-populated where you just do check boxes. All right. So I will. And then, of course, this year we are focusing on the relevancy and putting in the so that we. Notes are not required. So I'm going to unclick that. Homework is required, or you could call that assignment. Maybe you have assignments that then turn into homework, however that works. But I would encourage you to have that. And even if you do not have homework, you're going to put none so that there's at least that confirmation that there was no assignment that students need to do for home that day. Critical thinking and writing, so that you are documenting that critical thinking and writing piece. And then I do not use the notes, and again, I use notes, which I'll talk about later, and I use the lesson. All right. All right, so what I would like to show you then is how you can go ahead and go in here and take care of these items that you want. Now, when we look at the display settings here, you may be wondering, why is mine looking like colorful. And that is because over here on the right-hand side, you can go here and let's say I want to turn this standards piece into something pretty. Purple. Let's do purple. So I can turn that into like the light colors. Now, if I just did this title piece, then you can see here's what it would look like. It would just do the little title of the we will statement. Okay. And so go to display settings. So what if I want the entire box to be filled, then I can have the body of it filled. And so I could have the whole entire thing purple. And so then it would look like this. So that would take my we will statements to be different colors. And then there's my I will statement. So that we, and then notes are not required. I personally use them and I'll pull those back up here shortly. Homework is required and critical thinking. Again, this critical thinking component, all you should really be doing is documenting where that piece is in your lesson. So a lot of times mine's already in my assignment that I'm doing with my students. So I'm just documenting what that piece is that they have, and or you're just putting in a journal or exit ticket, or they're doing their writing somewhere else that you're having them do that. Now, you may have noticed that down here at the bottom, I have attachments and think that's pretty clever. For example, on the first day of school, I have the attachments of the procedures and rules and all of that, all of those documents. This is helpful. And then say a student is absent, they can then access this attachment. And the other benefit to that is now you have it in there for future reference. So the way that you would access that or add, say, an attachment is by, again, you go into the lesson and you change you go in there by clicking the day, and at the bottom it says attachments. And so that's where you could go from your Google Drive or just a different attachment. And the also really neat feature about this is you have the ability to make it private. So if I made this private, suppose it was an answer key that I didn't want my students to access yet, but after we went over it in class, I then wanted them to be able to have it to look at that night before the test or before the quiz or whatever, so that they had that correct. So if I made it private, it would then not show up to the students. If I uncheck that, then it is available for anybody to get that document. All right. So let's go ahead and go into, let's say, the sixth grade math, okay? Because remember, this is what the new class I'm adding. So what you will notice is that when you go in there, you have these tabs. And these are the tabs of those display setting components that I had determined to use. The we will statement, the I will statement, so that we, and the homework or the assignment, and then the critical thinking and writing. All right, but let's talk standards now. So you will see that when I'm on the we will statement tab, it has this we will statement with a little plus mark over here. And that is happening because, and so if that is not showing up on yours, then you did not do your display settings correctly. That is occurring, that little plus sign is occurring because my we will statement is on the standards line. It's on the standards tab. All right, so going back in here, let's take a look at the we will statement, and I'm going to do a plus sign. And so what we want to do is identify the standards for, and in my case, it's sixth grade math. So currently I have it set for my College Board AP Statistics, the new ones, 2019 standards. Okay, but I'm making a new class. So I want this class I'm doing to be sixth grade. Now, if you have high school courses, then you probably want to just put in one of the high school grades. Now look here at this framework. So this top left one, if I use this plus mark, it will show me the framework to use. And this is not a College Board class. So I want US. See, look at all of these frameworks that they have in here. Different countries, England, France. Anyway, that'd be kind of fun to look at all of those. Now here's some US, and look, there's ACT, so that's interesting. And so on. We actually will, and see, there's the US College Board, there's the US Common Core, and so on and so forth. But we actually want to go on down to where it says US State. So they're United States state standards. Okay. And so then when we go to the state standards, keeping on going, there we go, US state, and then it starts listing all the states. So we want to go all the way down to US state and Texas. There it is. Okay. US state of Texas. All right. So let's check that. So I'm going to do US state of Texas. Now, I then need to go in and choose the particular subject. So the subject that I'm doing is, I'm going to click this plus sign. And so here are the ones that I'm doing. I guess according to this, it says that these standards are from 2014. So I guess I'm going to go with that. If you have had a more recent one, but because I'm not familiar, then I guess that would be in there. And so then my next question is, why are these not showing up? Let's see. Hmm. Well, let's see here. Okay, US State, 6th grade math, 2014. Why would all categories? I should then have, and I did the other day, have these pre-populated standards right here. So that's interesting. Why that is not showing up. Let's see here. Let me try that again. Plus, US State, 6th grade. Maybe they're changing them all out. I don't at this time, and they're down. Don't know. Let me try a different one and see. That's clear. Just put those in there. Oh, look at there. Okay, so for whatever reason, I cleared it, I put it back, and then they came up. Okay, so, akin to turning it off, turning it back on, there you go. All right, you could even then go in and kind of, um, minimize your what you're having to look at. Say I know I'm in the numbers and operations section of my standards, and it'll jump to then that section. So what you do then is say we are locating and comparing and ordering integers and rational numbers, and we're also having them in real world contexts. Okay, so you can click those two. I hit the check mark. And so those two standards then will be attached to the lesson I do. I'll do my I will statement is the next tab. And so I type in my I will statement. And then I have a so that we, the reason that we're doing all this, which you have the real world information. And so that's the real world component on this particular TEK. So that's good. And so on. And so you're going to then be entering in all the rest of your lesson. You may or may not have an attachment lesson. You can also enter in a link. So say you had a link to a real world situation or something that you wanted the students to look at, then you could put in a particular URL link, okay, and then what text to display with that. You can put in pictures. So you may see I put in a picture for the Monday back to school. You can also get fancy and do an embedded video link. So I'll show you some of that stuff in a little bit. But so you can see, here's what showed up after I had done my display settings and I did my standards, and there you go. That's how that will work. All right, now it is kind of tedious to put your standards in every single day. Okay. And I'm not going to lie, it did take me a solid hour or so, hour and a half last year per week doing that for my 2 classes. I had not done that before last year. Now, I've been doing this since 2013, my familiarity with the Planbook. So all of the material that I am showing you, um, it, it did not get there just last year. So don't fret if you think that yours is supposed to have all of that in there just because of it being in there last year. So I'm going to demonstrate some other features that I have. And in order to do that, I'm going to kind of set it back to the way I had it really quickly so I could show you, for example, my notes section and some resources that I put there. All right, I'm going to put this lesson here. All right, so here we go. Got this back in order. So let's just look at AP statistics because I want to show you some really neat features. So I've got my we will statement, and then I've got lesson, which is kind of in layman's terms of what we are doing. The I will statement, the so that we. Then I have my notes. And so in the notes, I do my information in packet. So I have the packet pages that. Now look, this is an embedded video, and I could do that later to show you how that would work. And my homework and my critical thinking and writing have the attachment. Okay. But the best thing that happened with all of this tediousness of putting in these standards is that at the end of the year, or you could look whenever throughout the year, you can go to this amazing thing. This is going to make it all worth it. I promise you. Standards reporting. So when you click the standards reporting, now I have only done one day's worth of uh, sixth grade math. So I'm going to go and show you what jewel you get when you do it for a whole entire year or an extended amount of time. So I'm going to go back and take a look at I'm going to do my College Board material. So again, this was under Go To and Standards Reporting. Takes a while to kind of pull up this material. It doesn't like to do that. I'm going to go to my College Board. I'm not going to do all subjects, so I should have probably put the subject first so it doesn't have to sort through so much. And I want to just go down to AP Statistics. I want you to notice I have an option of AP Statistics or AP Statistics 2019. I only practiced one day of the 2019 stuff. So I'm going to show you what all I did last year. So here are all my standards, and you can see that the first standard of the exploring data, patterns and departures from patterns, I taught that 16 times. I taught that throughout September, October, lots in October, visited again in April and May. I can even click on one of those dates and it will show me what assignment I did with that particular standard. Okay. So as you can see, you will then have, when you do that standards reporting, you will have the entire year's material and you can see how many things you taught and how frequently you taught those, exploring bivariate data 22 times. So was that an essential target that I listed today whenever we did our little essential targets training? Absolutely. So you can see these times that it was really clearly very important to make sure that the students master that. You can export that into an Excel document. So there it comes up, standards reporting into an Excel document. All right, so that's a super neat um, set of information that you can have. All right, I think that pretty much covers all the things that I want to show you on your plan book. Now, there are some issues with how to share your information. So if you want to share to another teacher, or we're also going to talk about sharing and putting it on our web page. And so what that does is that is going to be, we're going to go into this sharing options tab, but I have a separate video for that. It's about 10 or 12 minutes long. And so if you want to be able to share your lesson plans with a colleague or somebody in your collaborative team, then watch that little video on the sharing options. So I hope that you enjoyed this video or learned a lot from all of the amazing options that Planbook can do for you. I'm going to go delete my little sixth grade math class because I certainly don't intend on heading over there to McAnally and teaching that every day. I'm going to stick to my statistics. Thank you, and I hope this helped.